Hey, it's Erin. Let's talk about how to eat to lean down. A few videos ago, I talked about how to eat to gain muscle, and there were a lot of requests on how to eat to lean down. I totally get it. It can be tricky. I want the main takeaway for this video to be you have to be in a caloric deficit in order to lean down. So at the end of the day, that is all that is going to matter. But I want to share some science-based tips to help get you there. And then towards the end of the video, I'll discuss a few things that have helped me along the way. These are, of course, that N of one anecdotal stuff. It may work for you, it may not. So without further ado, let's just jump right in to get shredded. Okay, number one, you want to make sure that you calculate or you know your basal metabolic rate. And this is also known as BMR. You can go to bmrcalculator.net. Really great resource just for calculating the minimum amount of calories you need just to survive. So if you laid in bed, did absolutely nothing, this would be the calories that you would burn. Keep in mind that if you have yo-yo dieted in the past, or if you have been just strict on caloric restriction, that your basal metabolic rate may be a bit lower than calculated. Just an FYI. So know your BMR. Now, after that, think about what your ideal weight is, what your goal weight is. You can do some quick calculations here. So if your goal weight is 150 pounds, for example, you would take that, multiply it by a coefficient of 10, 11, or 12. And I give you a range because you can go a little bit less aggressive with the 12 number. You can give yourself a little bit more calories, which is what I would recommend. So goal weight times 10 to 12. And if you go on the less aggressive side of things, that gives you room to manipulate. If your progress starts to stall or slow down, then you can go ahead and reduce your caloric intake. Now, the best way to lean down is to be in a caloric deficit, period. You must eat more than you burn. So keep track of your progress, whether on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. The scale is great. You know, if you're using the scale once a week, look to drop about 1% of your body weight per week, and you want to do nice and slow with this. Now, during that first week of leaning down, you can expect to drop a little bit more weight. Some of it's going to be water. Maybe you had a little bit of inflammation. Maybe you're cutting out junk food. If that's the case, then you're going to drop maybe 4 to 6 pounds. But a good rule of thumb is about a 1% of your body weight reduction each week. So if you weigh 180 pounds, for example, the max you want to lose is about 1.8 pounds per week. Now, this is because we want to make sure that we maintain that lean muscle as we're dieting down, right? So the goal is not to look like a human coat hanger. The goal is to lose body fat so you can show off the muscle below. So slow and steady is definitely the way to go. I have my notes here taped to my tripod. So if I keep looking down, it's because I have my cheat sheet here. So think about 3 things. You want to increase your protein intake. You want to increase your water intake and slowly increase your fiber intake. Now, the reason we increase our protein intake is because, of course, protein is the building block of muscle. It's going to help you maintain your hard-earned lean mass. It is going to help with what's called TEF, or the thermic effect of food. So it's going to go ahead and boost that metabolism, which is going to be really helpful. And protein is excellent for satiety. So just a few reasons why you want to up that protein intake. So if you're at about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, maybe you'll go up to 1.1, you can go all the way up to 1.5. Just really depends on your goals and your current protein intake. And of course, you're going to spread that out throughout the day. You're not just going to have 150 grams. You're not just going to sit down to a big steak dinner and, the kind that you win a t-shirt at the end. You don't want to do that. You want to spread it out. So drinking water. Water is going to also help with metabolism. It's going to help with satiety. And a good rule of thumb, and this is something that I do, is just drink a little bit of water before the meal, and this can help with satiety. And of course, fiber. Fiber is going to fill you up. You don't want to go ham on fiber from the very beginning because you're going to experience some gastric turbulence, if you will. So you want to make sure that you slowly increase your fiber intake. That's soluble and insoluble fiber. So you want those fibrous veggies, but foods like oats can help with adding some soluble fiber. And this is going to help fill you up. And the next thing you want to do is think about eating more frequently. So if you're already eating 4 meals per day, you're good. But let's say you're eating once or twice per day, then you definitely don't. So the next thing you want to do is you want to think about eating more frequently. Now, if you're already doing 4 meals per day, you're good. But if you currently eat 1 to 2 times per day, think about eating 4 times per day, all the way up to 6 times per day. Each time you eat, you're going to boost your metabolism just a little bit. So this can lead to increased results over time. Now, this isn't going to make or break anything, but we're looking at small tweaks that can lead to big results. Now, this isn't diet related, but when you're in the gym, I know a lot of times people talk about, hey, you have to do supersets or circuits or giant sets in order to lean down. Now, there's no specific workout for leaning down. Just know that. What I would really recommend is sticking with your compound movements and lifting as heavy as safely possible. And the reason for this is we want to try to not only maintain that lean mass, but you want to try to maintain those fast twitch muscles, and you do want to try to encourage that metabolism to stay up. So really keep track of your progress when it comes to eating for leaning down. You'll have days where, or you'll have actually a week or 2 weeks where you may not see changes. So you might not see your measurements change. You might not see the scale change. And that's okay if you go 1 to 2 weeks like that, because a lot of times you may be experiencing internal changes. So after a couple of weeks, if you're not seeing results with the diet, think about decreasing your caloric intake by maybe 10 to 15%. So, if you're at 1,500 calories, you might drop it 150 calories. Now, really important, when you drop your caloric intake, make sure you keep your activity level the same. The human body is so amazingly adaptive. What can happen is you'll reduce your caloric intake and your body kind of goes into this torpor or, like hibernation mode, or you might experience like little micro sleep periods where your brain just kind of goes into, it just hibernates briefly. And this is just an energy saving thing. So if you have something like your smartphone that tracks steps, I really like the Fitbit. It's really great for tracking my activity. And when I go into a shred or looking to lean down, it's really important to keep that activity level the same. Now, again, not necessarily diet related, but cardio, it's a slippery slope. So if you're doing 30 minutes of cardio this week, next week you might have to do 40 minutes. And then before you know it, you're up to about 2 hours a day and you're, not really seeing great results. So I rely on steps year round to really just make sure I'm keeping my activity high. And then I'll add in cardio during the last few weeks of the shred just to get rid of some additional body fat. Now, for me, some things that have helped me in the past are time restricted eating. So I would eat between the hours of, let's say, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., sometimes 7 a.m. To 6 p.m. And I found that if I curtail my eating just a little bit earlier, that my heart rate variability tends to go up. I tend to sleep a little bit better. And a good rule of thumb for me is I go to bed just a little bit hungry. Not so hungry that I want to eat the paint off the walls, but hungry to where I know that I'm actually in that caloric deficit. Now, if you don't like to go to bed hungry, which a lot of people don't, consider having that last meal just be protein and veggies. So really get strategic with the food timing. Now for me, whenever I cut calories, I try to keep that protein at 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So everything else kind of constricts or restricts, but I try to keep that protein high because I want to maintain that lean mass. I want the satiety benefits. And for me, I typically will keep my carbs relatively high, and I'll just bring the fat in. Now, of course, protein and carbs do have exactly 4 calories per gram of weight there. So if you're looking at fats, you have 9 calories per gram of fat. So fats are more dense, and it was easier for me to cut out fats than it would be to cut out carbs. Now, everyone is different. Some people experience really great results on a low carb diet, but at the end of the day, the main goal is being in a caloric deficit. Cannot stress that enough. If you're not leaning down, chances are you're not in a caloric deficit. And that is barring anything, of course, health related or hormone related. Now, some things that I have relied heavily upon: caffeine. So I like coffee. I like these Celsius drinks. Caffeine can give you just a boost of energy. It can help a little bit with satiety. It can help with focus. But you don't want to do caffeine too late in the day because sleep is so important. So make sure that you're getting enough sleep too. This is going to really go a long way towards leaning down. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss, or any other topics that interest you? We'll be doing a training video next week, so I'm excited for that. So that's it for this week. Until next week, train hard, train smart, and eat well, y'all.